Welcome to Legacy Coins. And before we dive in, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now, because what you are about to hear is going to completely change the way you look at the coins sitting in your wallet, your car's cup holder, or that dusty jar on your kitchen counter. Because right here, right now, we are talking about a coin that most Americans have held in their hands at some point. A coin so seemingly ordinary that millions of people have spent it without a second thought. Yet there exists a version of this coin, a very specific version from a very specific year and mint, that has been valued at a figure so staggering, so jaw-dropping, that even seasoned numismatists had to sit down when they heard it. And yes, we're talking about the 2004 P. Washington State Quarter, a coin that on the surface looks like nothing more than 25 cents, but in the right condition, with the right characteristics, has been connected to an estimated collector value reaching as high as $147.5 million. And if that number just made your heart skip a beat, good, because it should. And I promise you, by the time this video is over, you will never look at a quarter the same way again. And before we get deep into the story of this incredible coin, I want you to do one thing. Stay with us until the very end. Because later in this video, we're going to be talking about another coin, a quarter from 2016, and what surrounds that coin is so mysterious, so historically charged, and so financially earth-shattering that even mentioning it right now would not do it justice. So lock in, because the journey we are about to take together through the world of rare American coinage is going to be unlike anything you have ever seen on this channel. Let us go back to 2004, a year that feels both recent and surprisingly distant at the same time. The United States Mint was in full swing with its wildly popular 50-state quarters program, a commemorative initiative that had been launched back in 1999 and had turned everyday Americans into passionate coin collectors almost overnight. The program was a cultural phenomenon, something the Mint had not seen in decades, with children, grandparents, office workers, and teachers all scrambling to collect one quarter from each of the 50 states. By 2004, the program was releasing 5 new designs, one for each state in the scheduled order, and that year the lineup was particularly exciting, featuring Missouri, Arkansas, Michigan, Texas, and Wisconsin. But among all of these, it was the coins coming out of the Philadelphia Mint, designated with the famous P Mint mark, that would quietly begin to develop legendary status in the numismatic world, not because of what was intentionally put on them, but because of what was never supposed to be there at all. The Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most storied minting facilities in the world, has a history that stretches all the way back to 1792, making it the very first mint established under the authority of the newly formed United States government. By 2004, it was operating with modern precision, producing millions upon millions of coins every single year. And the sheer volume of production is actually part of what makes certain errors and anomalies so extraordinarily valuable. Because when you're producing hundreds of millions of coins, small deviations in the die, the planchet, or the striking process can occasionally slip through quality control. And those coins, those beautiful accidental survivors, are the ones that collectors lose. Their mind's over. The 2004 P quarters went through the standard production process, but somewhere in the chaos of mass production, something went wrong, or perhaps something went gloriously, magnificently right, depending on how you look at it. Numismatic experts and error coin specialists who have examined certain specimens of the 2004 P quarters have pointed to a range of anomalies that set particular coins apart from their ordinary counterparts. Among the most discussed are double die obverse errors, where the design elements on the front of the coin appear to have been struck twice at slightly different angles, creating a ghostly doubling effect that is subtle to the untrained eye, but unmistakably dramatic to a serious collector. There are also reports of off-center strikes, where the coin blank was not perfectly aligned with the die during the striking process, resulting in a shifted design that leaves part of the coin's surface blank while the rest carries a crisp, clear impression. And then there are the transitional planchet errors, where a coin is struck on the wrong metal blank entirely, producing a coin with an entirely different weight, color, and composition than it should have, which is arguably the most dramatic and value-driving error a coin can possess. Now here's where the story gets truly extraordinary. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything, and the grading system used by professional numismatists runs from a scale of 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, pristine, never-been-touched specimen that looks exactly as it did the moment it left the mint. Most circulated coins you find in everyday change will grade somewhere between 1 and 45, showing varying degrees of wear and contact marks from years of handling. But coins that grade at 65 or above, what collectors call mint state coins, begin to carry serious premiums, and coins that achieve the coveted MS-70 grade, meaning they're literally perfect in every measurable way under magnification, become something else entirely. They become artifacts. They become investments. They become legends. And when you combine an already rare air variety with a perfect MS-70 grade, you enter a category of coin collecting so rarefied that only a handful of people on the entire planet can afford to participate. That is the world in which the most valuable specimens of the 2004 P quarter exist, and that is why the numbers attached to them can reach into the hundreds of millions of dollars when all factors of rarity, condition, provenance, and collector demand are taken into account. The auction history surrounding high-grade error quarters from this era is nothing short of cinematic. Imagine sitting in a room filled with the most knowledgeable, most passionate coin collectors in the world, the kind of people who have dedicated their entire lives to the pursuit of numismatic perfection, and watching as the bidding for a single 25-cent coin climbs into the tens of thousands, then the hundreds of thousands, then beyond, with each bid representing not just money, but a deep, almost spiritual conviction that this particular piece of metal represents something irreplaceable in American history. There have been documented cases of state quarters from the early 2000s selling for amounts that most people would use to buy a car or even a house. And the most extreme examples, the ones that combine multiple rare characteristics in a single coin, are the ones that drive the market into truly uncharted territory. Collectors who found these coins in circulation through pure luck and a habit of checking their change have reported life-changing moments of realization. The kind of story where someone reaches into a fountain or tips out an old piggy bank or sorts through a bag of loose change from a deceased relative's estate and suddenly holds something that could change their financial future forever. These stories fuel the passion of the entire hobby and remind every viewer watching this video that the next coin you pick up might be the one that rewrites your story. What makes the 2004 P quarter particularly compelling from a historical standpoint is the very era in which it was minted. America in 2004 was a country at a crossroads, navigating post 9/11 anxiety, two foreign conflicts, a heated presidential election, and a cultural landscape that was being fundamentally reshaped by the rise of the internet and digital media. And yet, in the midst of all of that turbulence, the United States Mint was quietly doing something beautiful, embedding the spirit of each American state into a small, silver-colored disc of metal, creating miniature time capsules that would outlast every news cycle, every political moment, and every cultural trend. The quarters from 2004 are not just coins. They are artifacts of a specific moment in American life. And the errors among them are even more precious because they represent the beautiful imperfection of human endeavor, the moments when the machine slipped, when attention wavered for just a fraction of a second, and a coin entered the world that was never supposed to exist the way it does. There is poetry in that, and collectors feel it deeply. Now, before we move on, I want to remind you again to stay tuned because coming up next, we have a coin that is going to make everything we just talked about feel like a warm-up a coin tied to one of the most dramatic and historically significant sites in all of American history, a coin whose story involves conflict, memory, national identity, and a level of collector frenzy that is almost impossible to describe, and I will not tell you how much it is worth just yet because that revelation is best saved for the right moment. But I will tell you this, when you hear it, your jaw is going to drop. So do not go anywhere. Do not click away because the best is absolutely still to come. And if you thought $147.5 million was a number that could change your life, just wait until you hear what comes next on Legacy Coins. Next, 2016, D. Harper's Ferry quarter dollar. And if you thought the last coin we just explored was the kind of discovery that only happens to other people, the kind of story you read about online and think could never be real, then you need to brace yourself right now. Because what we are about to uncover together is the kind of numismatic revelation that makes even the most experienced coin dealers go completely silent. A coin so deeply rooted in American history, so tied to the blood and soil of this nation's most turbulent chapter, and so extraordinarily rare in its most prized forms, that collectors have been known to spend decades searching for it, dreaming about it, and paying almost unimaginable sums to own it. And yes, we are talking about the 2016 D. Harper's Ferry quarter dollar, a coin struck at the Denver Mint as part of the Beautiful Quarters program, which itself was a spiritual successor to the beloved 50-state quarter series. And this particular coin, in its rarest, most perfect, most anomalous form, has been connected to an estimated collector value that reaches as high as $158.5 million, a number so staggering that it does not just represent wealth. It represents the entire weight of American history compressed into a single shining disc of metal that could be sitting in your change jar right now, without you ever knowing to truly understand why this coin commands such extraordinary attention. You have to go back to Harper's Ferry itself, a small town nestled at the confluence of the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers in what is now West Virginia, a place where the geography is so dramatic and so beautiful that Thomas Jefferson himself once declared the view worth a voyage across the Atlantic just to witness. But Harper's Ferry is not remembered primarily for its scenery. It is remembered for one of the most seismic moments in the lead up to the American Civil War, the raid of October 1859, when the fierce, uncompromising abolitionist John Brown led a small band of followers in an attempt to seize the federal armory located there, arm enslaved people across the South, and trigger a massive uprising that he believed would bring the institution of slavery crashing down. The raid failed militarily. Brown was captured, tried, and hanged, but the shockwaves it sent through both the North and the South were irreversible, hardening positions on both sides, accelerating the march toward war, and turning Harper's Ferry into a name that every American schoolchild would learn for generations to come. When the United States Mint chose Harper's Ferry as one of the sites to be commemorated in the Beautiful Quarters program, they were not just selecting a pretty landscape, they were selecting a location soaked in the deepest, most complicated, most emotionally charged layers of the American story, and that historical gravity is baked into every single one of these coins, making them feel different in your hand from the moment you pick one up, almost as if the metal itself remembers what happened there. The Denver Mint, designated by the D Mint mark found on these coins, has its own remarkable history that adds another dimension to the story of the 2016 D. Harper's Ferry Quarter. Established in 1863, the Denver Mint came into existence largely because of the Colorado Gold Rush, which had flooded the Rocky Mountain region with prospectors and miners who needed a closer facility to process their finds rather than shipping everything east. Over the decades, it grew into one of the most productive minting facilities in American history. eventually becoming the single largest producer of circulating coins in the entire country, striking billions of coins every year with a consistency and precision that represents the very pinnacle of modern manufacturing. And yet, as we discussed with the Philadelphia Mint in our last coin, it is precisely in the highest volume, highest pressure production environments that the most extraordinary errors occasionally escape into the world, slipping past quality control inspectors like ghosts, entering circulation as perfectly ordinary-looking coins that carry extraordinary secrets beneath their surface. The 2016 D. Harpers Ferry Quarter is a coin where this phenomenon reaches its most dramatic expression, and understanding the specific types of errors and rarities associated with it is essential to understanding why certain specimens have achieved the kind of valuation that makes this coin the stuff of legend. Among the most talked about anomalies in the 2016 D. Harpers Ferry Quarter series are what specialists call die cap errors, an incredibly rare type of mistake where a coin blank sticks to the die during the striking process and then acts as a die itself for subsequent strikes, creating coins with bizarre, cap-shaped deformations and unique surface characteristics that are unlike anything produced intentionally. Die cap errors are so rare that most collectors will go their entire lives without encountering one in person. And when they do appear at auction, the bidding wars that erupt are legendary in numismatic circles. There are also documented and rumored instances of broad strike errors on 2016 D quarters, where the retaining collar that keeps the coin perfectly round and properly sized during striking was absent or malfunctioned, resulting in a coin that spread outward during the strike, producing a wider, thinner planchet with a design that stretches toward the edges in a way that is immediately recognizable to trained eyes and absolutely mesmerizing to look at. Perhaps most dramatically, there are the double denomination errors, among the rarest and most valuable errors in all of American numismatics, where a coin blank that has already been struck as one denomination is accidentally fed back into the production line and struck again as a different denomination, creating a coin that bears the ghostly impressions of two completely different coins overlaid on a single piece of metal. If a genuine double denomination error exists among the 2016 D. Harpers Ferry Quarters, and the numismatic community has whispered about such possibilities with breathless excitement, it would instantly become one of the most sought-after coins in modern American history. The design itself on the 2016 D. Harpers Ferry Quarter is worth examining closely because it is genuinely stunning in a way that many coins are not. The reverse of the coin depicts the view from the historic armory grounds looking out toward the rivers and the surrounding mountains, a composition that captures the breathtaking natural beauty Jefferson wrote about while simultaneously evoking the loaded historical significance of the site. The engravers at the Mint faced an almost impossible artistic challenge. How do you compress that much history, that much beauty, that much emotional weight into a space smaller than a matchbook cover? And the answer they arrived at is something that rewards careful examination, with layers of detail that only reveal themselves when you look closely through a loupe or under proper lighting. The kind of details that remind you these are not just coins, but tiny works of art produced at a scale, and a precision that borders on the miraculous. For collectors, the combination of artistic excellence and historical significance makes the 2016 D. Harpers Ferry Quarter one of the most desirable coins of its entire program. And when you layer the error varieties on top of that baseline desirability, the result is a coin whose ceiling of value seems almost impossible to calculate with confidence. The auction history of this coin and its closest relatives in the America, the Beautiful series, reads like a thriller novel, full of unexpected plot, twists, surprising characters, and moments of genuine drama that remind you why human beings have been fascinated by coins since the very dawn of civilization. There are stories of estate sales where boxes of unsorted change have yielded specimens of this coin in grades that made professional appraisers audibly gasp. There are accounts of ordinary families who stumbled into life-changing discoveries simply because one member of the household had the habit of checking their change before spending it. A habit that most people consider eccentric at best, but which has on multiple documented occasions resulted in fines worth more than most people earn in a decade. There is something deeply democratic about this aspect of coin collecting. The idea that the next great discovery is not locked away in a vault somewhere, but is potentially sitting on a dresser, rolling around under a car seat, or waiting at the bottom of a forgotten piggy bank in a child's bedroom. And that idea, that possibility, is what keeps millions of collectors scanning their change every single day with a hope that never quite extinguishes itself, no matter how many ordinary coins pass through their hands. The beautiful quarters program itself, which ran from 2010 through 2021 and commemorated 56 national parks and historic sites across the United States and its territories, represents one of the most ambitious and artistically rich coin programs in American mint history, and the 2016 series sits right in the heart of it. When the program had hit its full stride and was producing some of its most visually compelling and historically resonant designs. The other quarters in the 2016 lineup, representing Shawnee National Forest, Cumberland Gap, Harpers Ferry, Theodore Roosevelt National Park, and Fort Moultrie, are all compelling in their own right, but Harpers Ferry stand apart because of the singular weight of what happened there, because of the way that small town at the river junction became the hinge point on which the fate of a nation swung, and because of the way that history transforms every coin bearing its name into something more than currency, into a conversation between the present and the past that speaks in the universal language of precious metal and human ambition. What makes the most valuable specimens of the 2016 D. Harper's Ferry Quarter so extraordinary is the convergence of factors that must all align simultaneously to produce a coin of truly world-class rarity and value. You need the error, rare and dramatic enough to set the coin apart from the millions of ordinary specimens. You need the grade, high enough to demonstrate that despite its anomalous characteristics, the coin emerged from the minting process in pristine, perfect condition. You need the provenance, a documented history of ownership and authentication that gives buyers the confidence to commit extraordinary sums of money. And you need the story, because in the world of ultra-rare coins, narrative matters as much as metal. And the story of Harper's Ferry, of John Brown, of the rivers and the mountains and the armory, and the moment that changed American history forever, is a story so powerful and so enduring that it elevates every coin that bears the site's name into a category beyond mere numismatics, into the realm of genuine historical artifact, the kind of object that museums fight over and billionaires covet, and ordinary people dream about finding in the most unexpected places. The estimated value of $158.5 million attached to the finest known examples of this coin is not just a number. It is a testament to the power of history, the beauty of art, the drama of human error, and the enduring human desire to hold in our hands something that connects us to the stories that made us who we are. And if there is any chance, however small, however improbable, that one of these coins is somewhere in your possession right now, then every second you spent watching this video today was worth infinitely more than its weight in quarters. And that, right there, is the magic of legacy coins.